Welcome back to my Final Fantasy XIV drama series. Today's drama story is about Malicious Amy. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. This story begins back in 3.0, right when Heavensward came out. My friends from work had convinced me to start playing Final Fantasy XIV. At the time, I wasn't interested in MMOs. I dabbled in ArcheAge, MapleStory, and even further back, Well of Souls, but they had never held my interest for long. I didn't care for interacting with people and preferred solo RPGs, but I finally relented and got the game. And I hated it. I didn't know how to play the game, and my friends didn't bother helping me, even though they had promised to. I was told to skip the story. My friends had been WoW players and get to max level 60 at the time if I wanted to play with them, but they quit the game shortly after I started. I had no reason to stay in the game any longer, so I was going to quit. But my friend Amy, who my friends had also convinced to play, encouraged me to stay, and so I did. I'll say this now, I don't regret staying in this game, but I regret a lot of time with her, as you will soon hear. In the short time that she had been in game, Amy thrived. She was quite the social butterfly and had become well known to many on our small server. She co-led many link shells and people would message her in and out of the game to talk to her. I was so envious of her being so open and well-liked, but I was also thankful that she was very thoughtful of me and introducing me to her friends in game. She also invited me to her FC, led by her new boyfriend. I was surprised with how animated and lively FCs could be, as the only FC I have ever been in belonged to my friends who had quit the game. I was also surprised by how friendly FCs could be with other FCs, as I had only heard from my WoW friends that FCs were like guilds, and guilds were all rivals that hated each other. Yeah. FCs in Final Fantasy XIV are just so much nicer than WoW guilds. That's what I heard, at least. I don't play WoW, but it's just like a classic thing that you hear. One of the leaders in those friendly FCs was very nice to me, and we had many long talks together. There was a period of will they, won't they between the two of us, as neither of us wanted to lose the friendship in case things didn't work out. Okay, so sounds like they like each other. I talked to Amy about it, and she told me to confess to him, but a few days later, she stopped me, telling me that she found out that he was dating one of his FC members. OP likes an FC leader from another FC. But yeah, Amy said he's actually dating one of the FC members. I felt a bit betrayed and saddened to hear this, so I refrained from talking to him unless we crossed paths. Soon after this, Amy announced that she broke up with her boyfriend and we jumped ship to an FC down the road. I asked her on why they broke up, but she only gave me vague details other than that he was controlling and didn't want her talking to other male players. I shrugged and let it go. Amy took to our new FC quickly and began dating one of its members, Joe. And soon after, I dated Joe's friend. Our new FC ran us through a lot of non-MSQ content that we never knew about and taught us how to properly play the game. I learned a lot while with them and also met a lot of new people. People whom Amy met. One of them was Fred. Fred was a fun guy who loved telling jokes and running content with us. He was always ready to lend a helping hand, and I was in turn ready to help him whenever he needed help with casual content such as glam farming and the like. But Fred stopped showing up after a while. I asked Amy about this as she was the one who talked to him the most, and she promptly told me to forget about him because he was too good to hang around us anymore. Unfortunately, Fred wasn't around to ask, so I again let it go. Sometime later, Amy started to do X trials. She would ask my boyfriend, a raider, to go help her do X trials, but would stand him up to run with her friends. My boyfriend quickly got angry at her, constantly leaving him in the dust, and that he just stopped talking to her and refused to accept any of her half-hearted apologies. Amy, angry that he didn't want her apologies anymore, started fighting with him every chance she got and demanded that I break up with him daily. I would tell her to stop, but she would never leave it alone, always bringing up that he was manipulating me and that if I was her friend, I would do as she said. I didn't want her to hate me, but I also didn't want to break up with my boyfriend, so I always told her no. She'd ignore me for a day and then talk to me again after. My boyfriend, though, was tired of fighting with her all the time, transferred servers, and she smugly declared victory. I didn't like her boasting about it, but I didn't stop her either, as I valued our friendship too much to upset her. I had very low self-esteem, and I didn't want anyone angry at me, especially Amy, because she was my friend, or so I thought. Things, though, didn't get any better with Amy's behavior. Our FC leaders decided to go on a break from the game, and with no one to fill their spots, Amy nominated herself as the new FC head. The rest of us had known that it was a bad idea, but no one wanted the lead role, least of all me, as I was having problems with my boyfriend and was logging in game less. She began recruiting people who would promptly leave them for me to take care of and go play with her new friend. In playing with her new friend, she was ignoring her boyfriend, who eventually came to me desperately wanting an answer as to why she had been ignoring him in and out of the game. I asked her, and Amy confessed that she was bored of him and didn't want to tell him because she would feel bad. She was hoping he would get the message and just disappear. I scolded her. I told her she was cheating on him and needed to be upfront with him, and she relented. At least I had hoped she would, but she continued to ignore him for days until he finally managed to get through to her, and she screamed at him that she hated him. He immediately quit, and quickly after, another longtime FC member left as well, stating that there was too much drama and he was out. She called him many rude names and said the FC was better without him too, and went off gallivanting about with her new boyfriend happily. Dude, she sounds like a handful. I should have dropped her like old news, yelled at her that she was a terrible person, but the socially awkward person inside me didn't want to be alone. I should be thankful that she's my friend. I should be thankful that she takes the time out of her day to talk to me. Damn, man. OP be sounding like a simp for Amy. She might be a morally wrong person, but she would never turn her back on me, right? I asked myself that daily and continued to do what she wanted and tried not to upset her. Her friendship was very important to me. Never mind that she kept telling me to dump my boyfriend because she hated him. Things, though, soon came to a head when my birthday came around. Amy planned a surprise birthday for me and invited all her friends to go eat out. I was extremely happy about what she did for me. I figured, hey, she's not all that bad. A couple days prior, though, my boyfriend told me he wanted to come back and help the FC grow again. I was ecstatic. I told Amy about what he was going to do, and she started to sputter and almost screamed that she didn't want him to come back. She stopped and grunted that she would talk to me about it later and ignored me for the rest of the night. I felt like I had done something wrong, so I just shut up through the party. Damn, it was her birthday too, and her own friend was like, hell nah, getting mad at her. A few days later, she messaged me and told me that my boyfriend was banned from returning. She had talked to everyone else in the FC without me present, that he was a manipulative, evil bastard, and that he would never be allowed back. This was her ruling as the FC leader, and that her word was the law. Of the whole time that she had been the FC leader, I realized that this was the only time she had actually done anything as a leader, and that she only used her authority to deny my boyfriend's entrance back to the FC. I was upset, but she would hear no ifs, ands, or buts about it any further. I felt like the FC, the few that remained, didn't give a shit about me anymore. I felt alone. It was then that I came to a decision. What if my boyfriend came back, but I left the FC to join him instead? I could still play with my friend because we were on the same server, and she had the better end of the deal since I saw her every day. My boyfriend lived halfway across the country, but I'd still have time to play with him and chat between work and sleep. It seemed like a win-win scenario for me, but Amy didn't see it the same way when I messaged her. She didn't reply to me, didn't even look or respond to me at work, and told all our friends that I had betrayed her. I was in total despair. I cried for days and days. I begged for forgiveness, tried to explain my side of the story, but I never got one peep out of her. She ignored me for 3 months in and out of the game. My friends sided with her, saying that I should have listened to her, and I felt more alone in my life than ever. So I asked my old FC leader for advice, and he asked me, say you become friends again, but you upset her again in the future. How do you know that she won't do the same thing again? Or the time after that? Thinking on that, I made my decision to change servers to where my boyfriend was. In the last few weeks before I moved servers, I made my rounds to my friends saying my goodbyes. It was then that the truth became clear. Amy's FC leader boyfriend had been upset that she had been constantly flirting with all the male members in their FC, and when he had expressed his frustration about it, she took it as a slight against her and left him. I talked to my old crush from the other FC, remember at the start of the story? And found out that he had never dated his FC member. He told me that Amy had tried cozying up to him for the longest time, even while she dated her FC leader boyfriend, and he had to tell her he wasn't interested. This was after I stopped talking to him. I caught up with Fred, who had just returned to Final Fantasy XIV, and he admitted to me that while dating Joe, she had admitted that she was interested in Fred and would leave Joe for him. Fred was a friend of our FC, and being uncomfortable with what she said, stopped talking to her, thereby instigating her fury towards him. I also got back in contact with an FC member that had left because of too much drama, and as it turns out, Amy had been sending him inappropriate messages even though he was a gay man and married. He showed me screenshots of messages that Amy had sent him, demanding that he loved her and that she had wet dreams about him. Oh my god, this is crazy. Lastly, I talked to my boyfriend, who had admitted to me that there had been potential for Amy and him to date. They had been very close and he had considered asking her out, but she had always been talking to his friend Joe at the same time. Joe had confessed that he liked her and wanted Joe to be happy, so my boyfriend stepped back and let Joe and Amy be together. It was then that he decided to hang out with me and ended up liking me. I had asked all of them why they hadn't told me anything in the first place, and they all admitted that I was too nice and they didn't want to ruin my image of my best friend because I had practically worshipped her. I was so naive and trusting back then. I left the server without looking back. Amy suddenly decided after a few weeks of me leaving that she wanted to be my friend again. She messaged me, inviting me to get a burger with all our friends from work and pretending like she hadn't done anything terrible in her entire life or ignoring my existence for the past 3 months. I never answered her back and found out that she only asked me to go hang out because she needed someone to chauffeur her and everyone else around. She didn't have a license or a car. It wasn't long before my coworkers saw her true colors and they no longer talked to her after she tried to screw them all over. Knowing that she no longer had any support, she quit Final Fantasy XIV. Good riddance. The end. Damn, sounded like Amy just hit on everyone. She wanted all the boys. I think there's a little bit of wrong with the OP for not truly seeing how Amy was. I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes, I get it, because sometimes your friend can be really good at hiding these things. Like, you don't really know what they're like when they're like sending all these messages to other people behind your back. You don't really know, right? You just think, okay, my friend's amazing, I love her. But there was little tells, right? There was little red flags with her like demanding things out of her best friend, controlling her, telling her, you can't bring your boyfriend back, you should dump him. Like, it's like she's controlling everything she does with her relationships. It's stupid. So those should have been signs already that the OP should have seen. But we've all gone through that a little bit, like where we've had a friend that we let get away with a couple of things because we're like, oh, we value our friendship. But yeah, I think Amy definitely pushed it too far. It's unfortunate that the OP didn't see that quite early. I think the weirdest part also was that the boyfriend didn't tell his own girlfriend about what her best friend did at the beginning. Because, okay, it probably wasn't a huge deal maybe, but like, you know, boyfriend and girlfriends are quite close to each other. Maybe the boyfriend could have said, oh yeah, isn't it funny that like your friend Amy like hit on me first and then I was so happy to find you. I think that information came much later, unfortunately, but it would have been nice for her to hear that earlier on from her boyfriend that she was dating. But yeah, other than that, everyone else, I think in the story was really mature. I'm talking about the people that Amy hit on, like Fred and stuff like that, and that random other FC member, because like the fact that Amy hit on them and they just were like, fuck this, I'm out. And they didn't like run up to the best friend and be like, your friend's actually crazy. There's no reason for those people to ever say anything like that because, you know what I mean? Like, why would the best friend even believe you? I get their stance on like not sharing that with the OP. It's so hard because it's her IRL friend and she's part of that group. And I think what it is that Amy was like probably controlling the whole friend group. So if she was like, Amy, I don't want to be friends with you, she or the OP probably definitely knew that Amy would turn the whole friend group against her. And that's definitely a hard thing to overcome because you're like, okay, if I get rid of Amy, I lose everyone technically. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this Final Fantasy XIV drama story. If you have any of your own drama stories that you'd like me to share and read out anonymously, feel free to reach out to my Discord, discord.gg/Pathra.